Iris never goes anywhere.
We have that in common. No, she listed this cottage on a home exchange website, and I found it. We switched houses for 2 weeks for the holiday. She's in LA at my house, and I'm here.
Hey, Cassettes, and welcome back to the Black Case Diaries.
Hey, welcome back.
Wow.
Hey, man. Whew, missed us?
Adam's been holding his breath since October.
Yeah. It's taking quite the toll on him.
Can you imagine?
He hasn't been able to move much.
I just propped him up in a corner.
Well, we've made it to the end of the year. Whew, the holiday season is in full swing. And that can only mean one thing. It's time to talk about holiday movies.
Yay! Jing, 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 ding, 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 ding.
This year, we decided to start off December with an episode all about one of our favorite rom-coms. This mid-2000s gem is a Christmas movie that we don't mind watching any time of year. It's a wonderfully cheerful film about finding love in an unexpected place. We're talking about the 2006 Nancy Meyers film, The Holiday.
Holiday.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rom-coms can be good, gentlemen. If you need to get somebody into rom-coms,
Yeah.
whoever it may be,
It's a gateway rom-com.
this is the
This is the one you show.
Yeah.
This is the
This
perfect
is the gateway one. Yeah. This film is the Christmas rom-com that most Hallmark movies wish they were.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
100%. It plays on romantic tropes in a delightful way, with enough audience-pleasing predictability to make it a relaxing film to watch.
You're never... Oh, no, I hope they get together
Yeah.
ever
Yep.
once in this movie.
Are they going to stay broken up?
Oh, no. Although it focuses on two couples meeting and falling in love, the movie takes its time letting the stories play out. This film isn't just about people getting together, it's a story about moving on from unhealthy relationships and finding out who you are. So let's head to LA or Surrey and fall in love with The Holiday.
Yay! That's what I really like about this movie, because I'm not necessarily a big rom-com fan.
Yeah.
I appreciate them, but they're not my favorite kind of movie.
Yeah.
But I do really like that this movie is more about just finding peace, and then you fall in love. I mean, it all
Yeah.
seems to
Right.
happen at the same time in this movie.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
you
it's a
can't fit
rom-com.
much.
Yeah.
You have, what, an
But at
hour
least,
and a half?
yeah,
two?
but at least it's not like, I'm sad, man, fix problem. Like, that's not
Right.
usually...
It's
Yeah.
There's no like I can fix him or I need help
Yeah.
from so and so, right?
Yes.
Everyone kind of figures their own shit out
Yeah.
and becomes a better person and is like a healthier version of themselves first,
Yeah.
and then the door
Yeah.
is open.
And both relationships depicted are very different relationships, where
Yes.
one became intimate very early, like right away,
Yep.
and then but that was just physical intimacy, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
and then the other kinds of intimacy came on later on.
Yeah.
And the other relationship is, the other kind of the friendship.
The opposite,
Yeah.
yeah.
The getting to know each other, that kind of love
Yep.
that you grow, and then we assume physical intimacy
Oh,
later
yeah.
on at some point.
For sure. I mean, it's Jack Black.
Yeah. Yes. Plus, I love how the two leading ladies are just very different. too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, completely opposite.
Right. And it's like neither one of them is thought to be wrong.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. It's just how they
Yes.
are.
Yeah.
Their personalities, just, yeah.
Yes, one thing that I really like every character.
Yeah.
I mean, except for the horrible
Except
boss
Jasper
guy.
Bloom.
Yes.
There isn't really any obnoxious characters.
Yeah.
Or,
No. Yeah.
I mean, again, Jasper is obnoxious for a minute,
He's the
Yeah.
worst.
but everyone knows
yeah.
Yeah.
from the beginning. Everyone knows
Yeah.
that he's a dick.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and she figures that out and is like, fuck off. So, for those of you out there, as usual, if you haven't seen this movie, please go watch it somewhere.
Yeah.
If you want to be extra invested in our discussions, pause now and go watch it, I guess.
Yes.
But otherwise, here is a summary for you.
All right.
The story begins with two women, Amanda and Iris. Amanda is a wealthy movie trailer editor in LA, while Iris is in book publishing in Surrey. Amanda lives in a massive home with an Olympic swimming pool and a movie collection that would make any film nerd swoon. Oh boy. While Iris owns a beautiful cozy cottage just big enough for one. These two different people both happen to have one thing in common. Their love lives are seemingly falling apart. Desperate to get away for the holiday season, Amanda finds Iris's cottage listed on a home exchange website. Without another thought, the two agree to swap homes for 2 weeks.
Without another thought.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
They don't think about this at all.
They don't spend a week cleaning their place.
They don't meet first.
Yeah.
No.
Tomorrow? Tomorrow's perfect.
This is how you get robbed, children. Don't do things like this.
At least meet the person first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amanda hopes to avoid meeting any men on her trip, but is surprised to encounter Iris's brother, Graham. Iris heads to LA to avoid messages from her toxic ex-boyfriend and meets Miles, a charismatic film composer. Although love was the last thing either woman was looking for, they end up finding it over the course of the holiday.
Oh,
Title.
the holiday.
2 holidays, in fact.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's true. I remember the first time I watched this, my sister Rachel showed this to me, I think. And, you know, she liked rom-coms a little bit more than I did. And
Yeah.
I remember the thing that really, really drew me to this movie
Yeah.
was the plot line with the old film writer.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, Kate Winslet's character becomes friends with this film writer from the
Yes.
30s. And that really pulled me in.
Yes, their little meet cute.
Yes, and then Jack Black. In this movie, Jack Black is just like the dream. He's funny, he's nice, he's cute, he's charismatic. Like,
And does such a good job outside of his usual, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not really typecast. I mean, sure, he has some Jack Blacky moments.
Yeah.
Because why not?
I mean,
But
absolutely.
he's a lot more reeled in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yet it's still
Yeah.
very good.
All right, so we're going to talk about the making of this movie.
Then we're joking around.
Yep. Strap in.
Oh, boy.
Make sure you're on the right side of the road.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, the left side. Wait.
What?
Hold
Yeah.
on.
Which side?
Wait a minute.
The Holiday was written and directed by Nancy Meyers, the screenwriter behind classics like Father of the Bride and The Parent Trap, which she also directed.
Oh.
Meyers put a lot of her own life experience in the characters. While she was writing the screenplay, she was inspired by real-life encounters that caused her to change the story. For example, she herself ended up on a home exchange website while trying to find a place to stay on vacation. The concept intrigued her so much, she worked it into the story. Meyers' life and career is completely entwined in Hollywood, much like the character Amanda. She lives in a neighborhood filled with film history. Her neighbor's house was even owned by the men that wrote Casablanca.
Wow.
Some cool stuff.
Dang.
That Amanda is just over.
Yeah, Amanda doesn't care about this. Yeah.
Than anyone else.
Yeah.
It's like,
Meyers has explained that because she's a screenwriter, she often thinks in movie scenes. That's why Amanda, who cuts trailers, sometimes thinks in trailers. This happens a couple of times in the film, where we see clips of Amanda's life played out with a voiceover from the legendary Hal Douglas. For many years, Douglas was known as the trailer voice and provided narration for countless trailers over his career. He's kind of like her conscience. He kind of pops up when things are happening every once in a while, you know. It's like Amanda's on the plane, they're like, this Christmas, you know.
She had it all. Yes. The job, the house, the guy. This holiday season, find out what Amanda doesn't have.
Those are some of my favorite parts of this movie.
Me too.
I honestly, they only do it like 3 times, but I wish they did it some more.
Yeah.
The character Arthur, the cantankerous old man that befriends Iris is played by Kate Winslet, was also loosely based on a real person in Meyers' life. There was an old man in her neighborhood who would go on walks with his nurse. She never spoke to him, but she would always wave, and he never waved back. Meyers was inspired by him and began to imagine who he was. One day, Meyers spotted the man walking without assistance in a tracksuit. She waved at him, and he smiled and waved back. He got back into shape, much like Arthur, who even wears a tracksuit in one scene as a holiday.
Yes.
Ah.
Oh,
Isn't that cute?
that is
Yes.
adorable.
Yeah, so she kind of imagined the story of this man's life.
What if she nailed it?
Yeah,
What if
like
he
that
was
was
an
actually
What if
Absolutely
a
right.
happened.
sweet woman
Yeah.
from the UK moved in,
Came
changed,
in.
switched houses with somebody,
Yep.
befriended the old man, got him back into shape?
Yep.
Be
Made him
amazing.
swim laps at the, or I mean, walk laps at the pool.
Yes.
And one of my favorite parts is when Iris is sitting down in the walkers in front of her, and he gets up to go use it, and
Oh, and
she
she
just
slowly
uses her foot to like kind of
Yes.
push it along.
Arthur also expresses some of the feelings that Meyers has as a screenwriter. She wanted to highlight the fact that writers from classic Hollywood often get overlooked or forgotten, so she created a plot where he avoids accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award because he doesn't think anyone will show up. So one of the big plots in this movie is that Iris, Kate Winslet, comes to LA, doesn't have anybody to be friends with, and she discovers this old man who's like 90 years old. And she's like, I want to be best friends with that guy.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, why not?
Yeah.
And he's an old, classic, golden age Hollywood screenwriter.
Yeah.
And she, like, encourages him to go to this big party they're going to have for him in his honor. And he doesn't think anyone will show up.
Yeah. He's like, what? There will be 10 people there?
Yeah. And that's a, kind of a commentary that Meyers wanted to do.
Yeah.
Thinking about how, like, we talk about the golden age of Hollywood and we mostly talk about the actors
Yeah.
because,
Or
you know,
directors
they're the
sometimes.
stars. Yeah, the
Yeah.
directors sometimes, but not so much the writers.
Yeah.
Meyers found it challenging to follow the stories of the two main characters simultaneously, because both had to be introduced properly. This is why the film opens with a montage of the four principal characters, with Kate Winslet's narration, which gives the audience a glimpse of their stories while tying them together. I love
It
it.
works so well.
It's
Yeah.
really cool. It actually had been quite a while since I'd watched this movie, like from start to finish.
Yeah.
And I forgot how nice the opening is.
Yeah.
With all it kind of like really brings everyone in right from the start.
Yeah.
And then kind of like, okay, now we're going to divvy up time here, time there.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it's kind of paced really well.
Yeah, you see, it's so sweet because the movie really opens with this fake film scene,
Yes.
you know, and you see Miles scoring the
Right.
the scene,
Right.
and it's just this cute little fake out because it's like this is a rom-com.
Yep.
We start with the cheesy music, but it's like, oh, that's just a movie he's watching.
Yep.
You know. She was unsure of the scene where Miles, Jack Black, and Iris, Kate Winslet, meet for the first time. Originally, they were just going to talk, and she was worried that it was too boring. Her daughter suggested that something should fly into Iris's eye and that Miles would help get it out. This made the characters be physically close to each other, and it works as a meet-cute.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So cute.
It is, if like Jack Black's character is not like secondary necessarily, right? But since he's like the first one shown, I think they had to do something like that because they need to really
Yeah.
hammer his character in later.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Iris and Amanda definitely being the main characters of the movie,
Yeah.
without introducing Jack Black or Miles in that type of way, then maybe Amanda and Graham would overshadow that half, right?
Yeah.
Because they have their whole meet cute. He shows up drunk and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to have both. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The way that Jack Black and Kate Winslet meet in this movie is so interesting and so cute.
Yes.
You know, kind of this accidental meeting, and Jack Black, Miles, his girlfriend is in the car,
Yes.
Oh yes.
just
yes.
kind of uninterested
Yep.
in what he's doing, you know. And he comes out, he's talking to Iris, and this is supposed to be a very unsexy exchange. He's trying to get stuff that Amanda's ex left at the house. Like, that's what he's doing.
Yeah. And,
And-
she's like, I don't know who you are. I can't
Yeah, I
trust
can't
that
just give you
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, the Santa Ana winds are blowing and something's in my eye. And,
Yeah.
and it becomes this very intimate kind of
Yeah.
moment. And then the girlfriend, though, gets up out of the car and joins them. And it's so funny. She literally just gets out of the car so that she could just be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
just to pull him away.
Why are you
basically.
still talking to her? And I love that.
Yeah.
Because it's like she kind of just inadvertently knew what was happening.
Yeah,
you
she's
know?
like, something's going on here.
Something odd is happening over here. Yeah. Nancy Meyers included a lot of nods to classic cinema, including the famous romance montages that appeared in a lot of romantic films in the 1960s. That's why she chose to film Jude Law and Cameron Diaz as they ran around embracing after their lunch together. So
Yeah.
there's a scene where the two of them eat lunch, and then shortly after, they're just kind of like running around hugging and kissing.
Yeah, there's like this mansion in the background, and there's
Yeah.
like
Right.
this really nice garden type
Yeah.
scene
Uh-huh.
area.
It's just like they're just doing,
They're
and this
just-
is something that was in like every romantic movie
yeah,
for the span of like 10 years, where there
Yep.
would just be a
Yep.
scene like this.
yep.
And so they were like, oh, we just gotta throw that in.
Just gotta throw it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it subverts a lot of rom-com expectations, but also does rely on some of the tropes in like its own way.
Yeah,
Because it's almost like a satire in
Yeah.
this scene, because we know how the two of them end up.
Right.
You know?
It's so funny because it's just like, what is this? An engagement shoot? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
Yeah.
it looks like,
Yeah.
you know? It's like,
it's like I mean,
now pick her up,
what grown adults? Yeah, just
spin
like
her around.
play
Yep.
essentially tag.
Yeah,
Like-
I know.
Smile for the camera, I guess.
No, I love it. It's cute.
But it's
Yeah.
so adorable.
The holiday takes place in Los Angeles and Surrey, so production designer John Huttman and his crew had their work cut out for them. They had to create two distinctly different locations and make sure to remind the audience that the characters were in different countries. The scenes in LA needed to be lush and green, and the scenes in the English countryside needed to look cold and snowy. Nancy Meyers got some notes from the members of the cast and crew that lived in England, as they told her it didn't really snow there. As luck would have it, they did encounter actual snow while filming, though a lot of it is not real.
Dang it.
It's so funny. It's so funny because every American movie about England at Christmas, snow. Lots of snow. And every British person I've met, I asked them,
Yeah.
it doesn't snow in England. They say it doesn't snow, it rains. It's just cold and rainy. It's gray, cold, and rainy. That's it. Myers shot the two couples very differently. Amanda and Graham have a lot of tight, intimate shots where nothing is shown but their faces. Iris and Miles appear in wider shots, partly to convey the fact that they are in sunny LA. This also mirrors how Amanda and Graham's relationship is intimate immediately, while Iris and Miles start as friends and grow closer throughout the film.
I mean, I'm just thinking even when they're alone, it's kind of done that way because Cameron Diaz and her character Amanda like is doing those faces to the dog or whatever, and they're super close up on their face. Yeah. So even before she even meets Graham, I feel like it's still more.
And I think it kind of makes the audience feel like she's in a really tight space. Because the cottage is so small.
True. Yeah.
And I feel like if you look back to when she was in LA, there were a lot more wider shots.
Wider. True.
They started filming in LA with Kate Winslet for about a month before the production moved to the UK to film with Cameron Diaz for a few weeks. Benjamin Greenacre was the location manager for filming in the UK and found the spot where the production team would build Iris's cottage. They spent 4 weeks landscaping the front of it, which included building the wall just outside the home. Iris's house was modeled after Honeysuckle Cottage, a real home in the village of Holmbury St. Mary.
Oh,
So cool.
So neat.
Filming was also done in Sheer, a village in Surrey, with only one shot filmed in London. There is one scene where Amanda and Graham are eating lunch, and the exterior of that restaurant was shot in the Cotswolds. This is funny because Amanda considers vacationing there briefly at the beginning of the movie.
Lol.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The interior of Rose Hill Cottage, where Iris lives, says a lot about who she is. There is food shown throughout, with objects packed together in a small space. The interior design has more of a classic look, so that it appears, quote-unquote, English, but not like the home of a grandmother. The production crew loved the comforting feel of her home, even preferring it to Amanda's spacious LA house.
Oh wow.
I somewhat agree.
Yeah.
Even though, like we said
I
earlier,
would-
that
I
big
would-
old house is nice.
Yeah, I think I would choose the cottage,
Yeah.
but that house is really nice in LA. I mean, they got a
Yeah.
pool.
Yeah.
See,
I don't
you know,
know.
you just,
Smush 'em
you
together.
live in the LA one, and then the other one is just your vacation home.
Yeah, smart.
Or the other way around.
The set of Graham's house is one of the most detailed in the film. The movie does everything it can to convince the audience that Graham is a single man leading up to the moment when it's revealed that he has 2 children and his wife has passed away. So it was vital that his house look like a family home. There are homemade ornaments on the tree, school schedules hanging up in the background, and toys strewn everywhere. In Graham's daughter's room, there's a wonderful handmade tent. It was production designer John Huttman's favorite set in the film.
It's so cute.
No doubt.
It's
Yeah.
adorable.
Oh my gosh, yeah, when Amanda meets Graham, he kind of makes it seem like he's single.
Yep.
And so, of course, she assumes he is.
Yep.
And then, she shows up at his house and meets his kids. And yeah, this house is so family oriented.
Yeah,
Yes.
he does the thing that makes everyone think that he has another woman there, where
Yes.
he opens the door kind of normally first and
Yeah.
then realizes who it is and then kind of like holds the door more
To
closed.
be like a sliver. Yeah, like
Yeah.
he just
It's like,
fits
don't
in
look
it.
behind me.
Yeah, and there's like music playing. There's
Yeah.
always music playing.
Always
Yeah.
music.
There's always music playing
Yep.
in the
Yeah.
background.
Yep.
And-
Some noise happens behind him.
Yeah.
Right.
You're
Yep.
like somebody else is there.
Yeah,
Oh,
Amanda's like,
no.
oh, you're not alone. Oh. Because at that point, they weren't like committed.
Yeah.
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 So she was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay that you have someone home.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But
And
then,
someone over, and then a child
but then
pops
she
her
pops
head.
up. Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, and they're so cute. These girls are so cute, and they, invite her into their tent, which is the best tent
I
ever.
know. It's got stars hanging from the top.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
little, yeah.
I think it was all suspended from the ceiling or something. It was like really
Yeah.
fancy.
Yeah.
It wasn't,
One of those canopy, like.
Yes.
it wasn't held up by like couch cushions and
Yeah.
chairs.
Yeah.
Chairs and broomsticks.
Yeah.
The exterior of the California home, where Iris stays throughout the movie, was built by architect Wallace Neff as his private residence in the late 1920s. The interior was built on sound stages, featuring modern interior design. The house needed to look as updated as possible, so audiences would believe that a young woman in her 30s would be living there.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yep.
The
Gotta have-
design feels a little timeless because it's a little ahead of its time for the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
So like that a lot of that stuff was still kind of in for several
Yes.
years.
Yeah. And I'm glad they didn't go like too minimalist with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it from the outside, it looks like it very easily could have fallen into that trap where everything
Yeah.
was just gray and flat and straight.
Some sets didn't make an appearance in the final cut of the movie. For example, the crew built a beautiful bathroom and large walk-in closet for Iris to discover when she arrived in California.
But we never see them.
Ugh.
Yep. The exterior of Arthur Abbott's home was actually the home of comedian and actress Phyllis Diller. Diller was still alive while they were shooting, and the crew was happy to meet her. Oh, that'd be
Oh,
so
nice.
cool.
Yeah.
The interior of Arthur's house was carefully modeled after the homes of writers from the golden age of Hollywood. Nancy Meyers and John Huttman watched interviews with writers and took screenshots as a reference. There were also visual nods to Billy Wilder, a screenwriter and director that inspired Arthur's character.
Yeah.
Aw.
Very much a lot of Arthur was inspired by Billy Wilder, who was very clearly a hero of Nancy Meyers and loved him very much. And so there are little things like he wore the hats that Arthur wears in the movie
Gotcha.
and stuff like that. And yeah, they put in the chairs and things that they saw in these interviews with the older writers.
One of the things that makes the holiday stand out is its incredible cast. Kate Winslet plays the lovelorn Iris Simpkins, a woman in a toxic relationship with her ex, Jasper Bloom, who is played brilliantly by Rufus Sewell.
Is he like her boss?
I don't
Do
think
you
so.
know, or is he just a
No.
coworker?
They just,
I
yeah.
think that, yeah, she seems to be like the lifestyle columnist.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think he just works on a different part of the
Okay,
paper.
because I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
But because the way he acts around her, I mean, it fits because he's such an asshole, but he
Yes.
kind of has this air of authority around
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
This-
So I
like,
wasn't sure if like is that
controlling.
just who he is or is he actually like in
I-
charge of her kind of?
I don't think he's her
Yeah.
boss.
No, I
Okay.
don't think so either. Although Jasper is only in a few scenes, his presence dominates Iris as he uses her infatuation with him to his advantage. In his first scene, we can see that Iris loves Jasper, but that Jasper only loves what he can get from Iris, with no regard to her feelings.
Oh my god, it's so painful. Yeah. It hurts.
The first scene between Iris and Jasper was one of the most important moments for Nancy Meyers, and she wanted to make sure they got it right. The audience needed to understand right away that Jasper was bad news. After Jasper flirts with Iris, his engagement to another woman is announced at the company holiday party. Meyers was impressed with Kate Winslet's acting in the scene as the camera gently pushed in on her horrified face.
Yeah.
A wedding was privately announced earlier today that I don't believe any other paper in town knows about, and I want you to be the first to report on this particular union, as it is between two of our most esteemed colleagues. May I introduce the newly engaged Sarah Smith Alcott and Jasper Bloom.
I mean, she just talked to him. Like,
Yeah.
he made no mention of it.
Yep.
He was like, oh, I have a gift for you. And
Yeah.
nothing about, like...
He just sat there and
Right,
complimented her.
Yep.
And
Oh, why are you so great?
Yeah.
That's one of the
Oh,
things
gosh.
he
you're
says.
just so
That's
amazing.
such an icky, yeah. Kate Winslet added a lot to her character. For example, when Iris first arrives at Amanda's house, she was supposed to react to the massive bathroom and closet that the production designers built. She was also supposed to look in a large mirror and say a line about how this was the best thing to ever happen to her. But when Winslet saw the bed in Amanda's room, she told Meyers that she wanted to run and flop dramatically on the bed. Meyers thought that it was a great idea. So Winslet jumps on the bed, and that's how the scene ends.
That's why we don't see the bathroom.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the perfect way to end the scene, though.
Yeah.
It's just all this, wow,
Yep.
wow, and then
And then,
Here's what I came for.
it's like a,
yes.
it's like closing a book. It's like the
Yes.
perfect, like, boom. And
Yes.
Especially because, I mean, there's got to be a jet lag, you know?
I mean,
Oh,
she's got to
for
be
sure.
exhausted.
all this excitement, and then you're like, okay, I want to crash.
Yeah.
they both have that whole thing like addressed because
Yeah.
she you know, at whatever time it would be in the UK, like the middle of
Yeah.
the night, but it's daytime in LA, so
Yep.
she discovers the beautiful blackout
Oh,
curtains.
yes.
But then Amanda in the UK is wide awake
Yep.
at like 3
Yeah.
in the morning or
Yep.
something.
And
so.
then
Yeah.
later on in the movie, it's nighttime and Iris is up and going to parties. And
Right,
stuff.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Totally fine. One of the most challenging scenes for the actors was the three-way phone call between Winslet, Cameron Diaz, and Jude Law. Winslet had 5 pages of dialogue and had to switch between talking to Cameron and Law. Even though Diaz and Winslet both filmed the scene months apart, it cut together seamlessly, and it's one of the funniest moments in the movie.
It works perfectly.
I love this part. It's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
She it's so obvious that they slept together, you know.
Yeah.
So she's talking to Graham and she gets a call from Amanda.
Yep.
And she's just like, and they're just, oh, you're talking to, ask him how he's doing. Oh,
How are they?
how's
you
she
know?
doing? Oh, yeah, tell him I'm just walking the dog. And like, I think it's at the third one
Yeah.
where she's like, just tell him I'm walking the dog in the village and, just whatever. And Kate Winslet's like, oh, hold on. And she like presses the whole thing and she's like, I can't believe
Yeah.
you had sex with Amanda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, and it turns out that it wasn't, that Jude Law's gone, that he hung up. And so
Yep,
she
or
said
got
it to him.
disconnected
Yeah.
somehow.
And she
yeah.
said it to Amanda. And it's so funny though, that like she just comes to the conclusion, not
Yeah.
like, hey, did you happen to sleep with her? She just
Yeah,
immediately
no.
accusatory.
I can't believe
Yeah.
you did
can't
it.
believe you did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she asked me for one thing.
Yeah.
She asked specifically for no men.
Yeah, and you just immediately get into her knickers. That's what she said.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man.
And then you like see Amanda's like horrified like
Silly.
reaction, like,
She's-
oh shit. Oh no.
Cameron Diaz plays Amanda Woods, a businesswoman who just broke up with a long-term boyfriend.
That breakup scene,
Yeah.
it's so like bad and funny though. In the
Yeah. It's hilarious.
because he slept with his receptionist or something,
Yep.
and he's denying it the whole time, and they're
Yep.
having this big fight, and then he's like, she's like, well, it's over. You just might as well admit it, and of
Yeah.
course, That's my favorite. One of my favorite parts of that whole movie.
yeah,
So funny.
She's like, you might as well admit it, and he kind of looks to the side at the man that's doing their landscaping, or he's got a wheat leaf blower or something.
Yeah, their
And
gardener.
yeah, and the guy just kind of very, very subtly just like shakes his head, like, "Do not,
Like, don't do it.
not
Don't
do
say
this.
it.
You are like, oh my god,
He's like, don't.
It's
Basically,
so
with
good.
that head shake, he's like, don't be an idiot. Like,
yeah."
Honestly,
don't fuck this up.
Honestly, great moment.
It's
Just
so
that little, like,
funny.
But what does he do anyway?
Yeah, he
Fucks
does it
up.
anyway.
He does it anyway.
He says it, and then they have this big breakup, and we
Yeah.
and we see that Amanda can't cry, which is such an interesting. I've never seen that in any movie ever.
Yeah.
Where like a main character
distinct.
has this problem where she can't cry, and apparently Nancy Meyers went through that for a year. She couldn't
Yeah.
cry,
Wow.
so that's why she put it in the movie.
Yeah, it's very strange. She feels sad enough to cry.
Yeah.
She like sobs a little bit,
Yeah.
tries to really get it out, but it
Just doesn't happen.
The
It
tears
must be
won't
so
come.
hard too, because crying is such a release.
Yes.
Exactly.
And it's like you just, but
yeah.
you can't do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, because she said
Got
it
all
was
this
a
pressure.
horrific year. Like, like
Yeah.
awful.
I bet. Diaz said that this was one of her most physical roles. Near the end of the film, she had to run a fairly long distance.
She runs so much.
Yes.
And the classic rom-com, run to your lover ending.
Yep, when you could have just stayed in the car.
The car still would have been faster.
Yeah.
She also shows some great physicality in the beginning of the movie when she punches her ex in the face.
Yep.
Wham! Knocks him over, too. Nancy Meyers loves working with Cameron Diaz because she's a pure comedian. When her character first arrives in Surrey, she doesn't have anything to do. Meyers just ran the camera on Diaz for 10 minutes, telling her to act bored. This is how she caught Diaz doing silly little things that she came up with all on her own.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like the scene where she's sitting at the kitchen table and she puts her hair. She like puts her hair
Oh,
over her
yeah,
face.
over her face,
So like
yeah.
it looks like she's like seamlessly over her face. She was
Yep.
just that was her. She was just doing
Just
that.
doing stuff.
Yeah, she was just messing around.
Amanda is a fabulous Hollywood leading lady, and her clothes reflect that. In her first scene, she's wearing white clothes that resemble the satin pajamas worn by many female leads in the 1930s films.
Yeah, you'll see that a lot
Yeah.
in those movies.
Yeah. Diaz's character, Amanda, assumes the role usually filled by the male lead in a romantic film. She doesn't want to commit to any relationships and is known to be unemotional. Jude Law's Graham is the opposite, and the two of them flip the script on classic rom-coms.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, and
He
he's even a
weeps.
total crybaby.
Yeah,
Yeah, he cries a
exactly.
lot and she never cries.
Yeah.
And he's kind of the
Yeah.
one that wants a relationship and she's kind of like, I've got a really good career in LA. I'm not going to just stay here, you know?
Yeah, not only that, it's like her own business, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jack Black plays Miles Dumont, a film composer who is smitten with his girlfriend Maggie, played by Shannon Sossaman. After seeing Jack Black in School of Rock, Nancy Meyers noticed that he showed a lot of tenderness on screen with the children, so she wanted him for the holiday.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, like we were saying, he's
Perfect.
actually a brilliant actor.
Yeah,
So,
it's really cute because a lot of people didn't, I don't think, ever thought of Jack Black as a romantic lead. And then she saw him teach those kids how to play music in the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
And even though that character is so off the wall and it's
Yeah.
so ridiculous,
Yeah.
he does have this, he's so encouraging
Yeah.
with the
This
kids and he's so nice to
sincerity
them.
and-
Yeah.
Black really stole the show.
I mean, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Truly. He made everyone laugh on set, and he was the only actor that Myers encouraged to improvise lines. Oh, that's cool. Myers said that he was incredibly respectful of the character and the lines, and sometimes he chose not to try different things even when given the opportunity.
Yeah.
Wow.
She said that people kind of expected her to have to rein him in, you know, hold him down,
Wow.
kind of keep him. And really, he was like, no, I'll just do what you wrote. It's fine.
Yeah.
I like it this way. You know, and I
Feels
think,
right for the character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
and I mean, that's just not something she expected.
Yeah. One of Black's biggest scenes takes place in a blockbuster as he picks up several movies and talks about their scores. To prepare for this, Nancy Meyers asked some composer friends about their favorite scores. Jack Black then came over to her place and learned the themes so he could sing them in the store.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
He picks up the different movies and
Yeah.
scoodle-eatin' doo, and then da-da-da-da.
Dun dun.
Dustin Hoffman happened to be eating at a restaurant next door when he saw that someone was shooting a movie in Blockbuster. So he came to investigate. Since one of the scores that Miles mentions is The Graduate, Meyers asked Hoffman to play a cameo. For those of you who might not know, Dustin Hoffman starred in The Graduate, of course. When Miles picks up the DVD and sings Mrs. Robinson, Dustin Hoffman shakes his head and says, "I can't go anywhere." Hoffman didn't even change his clothes before appearing in the scene, and he made up the line on the spot. That's really cool.
So cool.
He was literally just wearing what he was wearing
Yeah.
It's like a
while he
hoodie.
was hanging out next door.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he just wandered in, and he was hanging out watching her make the movie. And then she was like, "Oh my God, one of the scores is The Graduate. You should jump in there."
Yeah.
He was like, "All right," so he did.
Aw.
So that's
Oh.
why
sweet.
that's why he's in the movie.
Aw.
Yeah.
I did always kind of wonder if they shot him separately, like, or like,
Yeah,
you
like
know,
why he was there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like what? Yeah.
It feels a little random.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a good line.
You really can't go anywhere. Yeah, they didn't even add The Graduate on there. It was already there.
I know, it's so funny because like it's kind of true. Like he
Yeah.
was just hanging out eating,
Yeah.
and it's like, no, I can't do that. Of course not. I have to be in a movie today. Jude Law plays Graham Simpkins, Iris's brother and Amanda's love interest. While acting in The Holiday, Jude Law had 3 small children of his own. He loved that his character was a father, and Nancy Meyers said that he was a natural with the kids.
Aw.
Many of Graham's mannerisms were added by Jude Law, and Nancy Meyers loved how thoroughly British he acted. British in quotes. Law also picked out the glasses that Graham wears in the movie and helped make other decisions about the character. In one scene, Law's character Graham plays Mr. Napkinhead for his daughters. He places a napkin on his face with glasses and makes a silly voice. This is actually something that Nancy Meyers' ex-husband would do for their children in restaurants, making children at other tables laugh.
Aw, that's really cute.
Yeah. There were a lot of little things in this movie and kind of big things that were directly from her life
Wow.
that
I
I
mean,
thought was cool.
They say write what you know.
Eli Wallach had just turned 90 when he did the screen test for Arthur Abbott, the screenwriter from Hollywood's Golden Age. The best character in the movie.
Yeah.
My favorite part. Wallach was actually much more lively than his character, and Meyers had to remind him that he was playing someone who had a difficult time moving around. He had a lot of great insight for his character, and he would tell stories about Marilyn Monroe and Clark Gable, just like how Arthur does in the movie.
Aw.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
like,
really nice.
there's
It's
a
like perfect.
Yeah, there's a scene in the movie where he asks Iris, what part of England are you from? And she says, Surrey. And he says, Cary Grant was from Surrey. And she goes, he was. How did you know that? He goes, he told me.
He told me once.
Wallach was a renowned character actor who was in the film business for over 60 years before his passing at the age of 98.
Wow.
98.
He lived
Yeah.
another 8 more years.
Yeah, after this
the
movie.
screen. Yeah.
The scene where she walks into his house and
Yeah.
sees all the movie stuff,
Yep.
and including the Oscar. Because, like, the concept to me of an Oscar just sitting on someone's shelf,
Yeah.
just like collecting dust,
Covered
like,
with other
there's
things.
papers everywhere, and I love how matter of fact and just not a big deal it is.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't really care.
Yeah, it's not on
just
a
a
pedestal.
trophy.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it reminds me, if you remember from Cars, the first one,
Yeah.
the one that people like still, it's the same thing where the Doc from the town
Yeah.
has got the trophies of the very race that
Yeah.
Lightning is so obsessed with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just sitting in there.
Yeah, just
in his
covered in
workshop,
dust and
covered in
cobwebs.
dust. It's that
Yeah.
perfect thing. It really lends a lot of weight to that character, whether it be Doc or Arthur in
Yeah.
this case, where it's like, damn, now I understand how actually influential he is, but he's so over it. That's such an
Yeah.
interesting thing.
Yeah. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the music in this film. Oscar-winning composer Hans Zimmer wrote the score for The Holiday. He's one of the most prominent film composers today, having scored films like The Lion King and Pirates of the Caribbean.
No doubt that you've heard something of his. I mean, duh.
Yeah. Hans Zimmer's pretty big.
Yeah.
In the movie, the character Miles is also a composer, and he writes themes for Iris and Arthur. This posed an interesting challenge for Zimmer, who composed his own themes for the characters and then had to write 2 more themes later. Zimmer's first theme for Iris is somewhat unrealized, and the theme that Miles writes for Iris is a polished version of the same music. It's as if Miles doesn't change the theme, he just finds the notes that will make it complete.
Yeah. Oh.
So romantic.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
It's so sweet.
Dude, that's the moment, because, there's still a good chunk of movie left after this,
Yeah.
but that's the moment where it's like, aha.
There it is. He's in love with her.
Yep.
Because, he's so good about not seeming like he's in love with her at all.
Yeah.
This is just a friendship.
He's
They're
just
just friends.
Exactly.
Yep.
But yeah, this is the part where it's like he's writing music for her.
Like, oh.
I mean, Suzanne Zimmer, Hans Zimmer's then wife, actually sings on the soundtrack. You can hear her voice in the scene where Graham and Amanda meet and decide to have sex.
Oh. I didn't
Yeah.
even...
Yeah. Because Jack Black's character is a composer, the film was able to work in some nods and references to classic film scores. In one scene, Black holds up a copy of Driving Miss Daisy, calling out Hans Zimmer, who scored that film as well.
Driving Miss Daisy? Hans. Very unexpected. Do you remember how great it was? Roodle-dee-doo, scroodle-dee-doo, roodle-dee-doo, da-da-da-da. Sassy. Love it. Is this a bad game?
No.
I think for me, that scene in the blockbuster might be my favorite.
Yeah.
Top 5 at least.
Yeah.
out of this movie,
I mean,
but
it's so good.
I
Yeah.
just love that whole part.
All right. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the reception.
All right.
How was this received?
Better be received well.
Ooh, you're gonna be
man.
disappointed.
No.
Is it a cult classic here, maybe?
Not cult classic,
Not cult classic,
but
like...
Oh,
Oh,
shit.
boy. Okay.
All right, hit me with it.
All right. So, with a budget of $85 million, The Holiday pulled in a worldwide gross of $205,850,169.
And some sense.
Yeah.
about
Some
roughly,
sense. Roughly.
An estimate.
Yes.
And they couldn't just make $1 more and do 169.
Right?
Well,
Yuck, 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 yuck.
The movie holds a low score of 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, with many critics panning the film for its predictability.
boo. Hiss.
One critic said that there was nothing authentic or personal about the movie.
That is such bullshit.
That is
Wow, dude.
absolute
it has
bullcrap.
so many it has so many things from her life specifically.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
But
like, wait,
it's
hold
like,
on.
what?
It is authentic and
Yeah.
personal.
And just because it's predictable doesn't mean it's bad. Come on. The audience score is much higher with an 80%.
That's what I'm talking
That's
about.
better.
Yeah.
That's better. Still not, what I want it to be.
98
but,
at least.
Exactly.
Certified
but it'll
fresh.
do. Some reviewers call it their favorite Christmas movie, while some point out the unbelievability of the story. Based on the reviews from the film's debut in 2006, The Holiday was not well received. Most of the positive reviews are more recent, when critics have the privilege of seeing the film with modern eyes.
Yeah, dude. It's got a 50% of Rotten Tomatoes. That's because of a lot of recent positive reviews from critics. I have a feeling it was a lot worse before. Yeah,
Ah.
a lot of people hated this movie. I found
Man.
so many articles
What the hell?
from
That's such a bummer.
2006.
Yeah.
People were like, "This is so bad."
It was ahead of its time.
People giving it 1 star.
Honestly, it really surprises me, actually.
I was
because-
surprised too.
Yeah.
Because this seems like, sure, maybe it is a little predictable, but it feels so
Yeah.
genuine and real. It just
Yeah.
Yeah.
that whole thing about the unbelievability of the story is like,
Yeah,
okay,
what?
Okay,
Yeah.
swapping houses from LA to England. Okay, maybe that part.
Yeah.
But the rest of it just
It's okay. It's okay to
think
just kind of live in a fantasy world for 2 hours.
that too.
Exactly.
It's okay for it to, you know what I mean?
I mean, we want to believe that we can just travel to another country
we all
and
just-
find
yeah,
somebody.
it's
like,
okay
you
to
know,
just
like,
pretend for
yeah.
a little while that this
I don't-
could happen.
I don't always go to the movies or anything to see real life. I mean, I don't
Please,
know about
God,
anybody
no.
else, but
Yeah. I mean, yeah, man, I don't know. I disagree with it. I'm really surprised because I've never actually met anybody who doesn't like this movie.
Same.
yeah.
So that's why I was shocked.
And I know we talked about how it's not so much of like, oh, here comes this person to fix
yeah.
the person
Right.
who's broken. It's not that, because they're kind of for each other. You know,
Yeah.
she shows up at the right time for him, but he also appears at the right time for her.
Yeah.
Right.
Because she was about to give up on her attempt to kind of fix everything. You know, he's kind of the reason she stays in England,
Yeah.
but he's not the sole reason that her life kind of turns around. She has
Yeah.
she breaks up with the guy
Yeah.
herself first and makes the decision to do something about it 1st. So it's like
Yeah.
there's a lot to like about this movie
Yeah. Yeah.
for those who are into rom-coms and those who aren't really.
Yeah. There's so much going on here. It's really cool. There's like subverting of tropes and expectations, and then also obviously the inclusion of some tropes, and you know, I love all of the nods to classic cinema.
Yeah.
Nancy Meyers clearly loves classic cinema.
Yeah.
And so there's so many references to it. And I love that. I think that's fun, you know.
Yeah. And tropes are tropes for a reason.
Exactly.
They work. So
However, if you were to Google a list of the best holiday rom-coms, The Holiday always ranks high on the list. Fans love that the film isn't just about finding love, it's also about restoring your soul and healing from recent relationship wounds.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know how we mentioned at the very beginning of the episode about how we're okay with watching it not at Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Because it takes place at Christmas and
Yeah.
they celebrate it a little bit.
Yeah.
But it doesn't dwell on Christmas.
There's not
No.
nearly enough Christmas in it for you to feel like it has to be only watched at
Yes.
Christmas.
Yep.
And I mean, we were talking a little bit about like Cameron Diaz's character and her arc and Graham and everything. But Iris, her thing is that like finding Miles, falling in love, that is so
Yeah.
secondary to what's going
is.
on for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like her number one thing is getting over Jasper
Yes.
because he comes back
Oh, God.
and like gets his
That's
claws
right.
in her.
That's right.
Convinces her to basically just throw away everything that she just learned
Yeah.
in the last hour and a half of this movie.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like she's under a spell very briefly.
Yeah.
But then she's able to break out of it because of all the things that Arthur has taught her.
Yeah.
And then Miles, Arthur teaches her. He
Yeah.
gives her the skills, but Miles gives her the confidence.
Now, we are moving on to the fun facts, everyone.
Yay!
We're here. There are movie references hidden all throughout the film. Some of them are more obvious, like when Kate Winslet talks about Casablanca, but some are more subtle. The scene where Amanda and Graham meet and kiss was inspired by a scene from Some Like It Hot, a film directed by Billy Wilder, who, like we mentioned, was a big inspiration for Arthur's character.
Yeah.
Ah.
And this actually was Jude Law's idea. So do you guys remember that scene where they're gonna kiss?
Yeah.
And she's like, try that again. Because what happens
Oh,
is that
that's
he,
right.
very,
Yeah.
he very innocently kisses her goodnight.
Yes.
Out of like a habit.
Yeah.
And then she's like, do you want to try that again? I didn't really feel anything. You want to try it again?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure. You want to try it again?
Yeah. Like.
Yeah. So that comes from, there's a scene in Some Like It Hot between Marilyn Monroe and Toady Curtis. And so that's the scene that they're referencing.
Nice.
And it was
Ah.
actually Jude Law's idea. He was like, we should do it this way.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Aw.
The scene where Iris hits her lowest point and briefly begins inhaling natural gas was inspired by the film Sabrina, when Audrey Hepburn considers suffocating herself in a garage filled with running cars.
Yeah, you guys remember this part, right?
Yes. Yes. I
Yeah,
do.
so she is so depressed.
Yep.
And she turns on her burner,
Yep.
her gas burner.
She's gonna make tea,
And
but
she's
decides,
she suddenly thinks for a second. And so she starts inhaling the gas. And then when she hears the notification on the computer
Yeah.
where, Amanda has sent her this notification, she's like, oh, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And she
Snapbacks.
She snaps out.
opens the window and like breathes in the fresh air. And it's very similar. I've watched the scene in Sabrina. She's like sitting, she kind of slouches down behind the car and she kind of starts like inhaling the exhaust.
Yeah.
And then she kind of briefly comes to her senses. She jumps up, she opens the window, she's like breathing in the air outside. But then she stays in the garage and still considers it. And then a man comes by and that's what snaps her out of it.
Gotcha.
And I like how in this movie, Iris, as she opens the window, she says like, low point. Okay, we're not going to go back to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
that's done.
bad. That was
That's
bad.
done.
That was as worse as
Yeah.
it. That's as bad as it's going to get. We're not going to go.
Yeah, we're not going to go any further than that. That
Go
was
any further.
That's it.
Yep.
In the film, Amanda says that she's always buying books and never reading them. Later on, she's shown with a stack of books to read. These books happen to also be the books on director Nancy Meyers' to-be-read list as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all the same books that she was like, yeah, I buy the books, I read the reviews, I buy the books, and I never read the books.
There's a rule that you can't show a real Oscar in a film. There is a scene where the camera sweeps over Arthur's home, and there is an Oscar sitting on the window. Nancy Meyers thought that the rule was silly, so she used a real Academy Award anyway. Just before the film was complete, the studio reached out and asked her if the award was real. Meyers then had to switch the shot out for one with a replica.
Aww.
Yeah, she almost got away with it too.
Oh,
yeah, they
so close.
They said they were cutting the movie. They were so close.
Oh.
And they were like, "Hey, by the way, that's not a real Oscar, right?"
Whoa.
All right. Any last minute things we want to say about the holiday?
Oh man, I remember this being one of the movies that my sisters and mother really liked, and I ended up. I don't know if I doubt I was like held down and made to watch it, right? So I probably just caught some of it and was like, Jack Black, blah blah blah, and then I ended up really liking it anyway.
Yeah.
Because I do honestly have a soft spot for movies like this.
Yeah.
I don't seek them out, but I do end up liking them because a lot of times the story is just enjoyable to see, and romance can be fun to watch sometimes.
This movie's really fun.
Yeah.
Lighthearted, a really sweet movie. I like that it is about being happy and finding love.
Yeah.
Not just one or the other. There's no pressure on the women in this movie to find a man.
Yeah.
They put pressure on themselves in the beginning, and then once they let that pressure go, they find somebody. And of course, the timing exists just because it's a movie, and that has nothing to do with real life or the way things are. But it is really nice that nobody is walking around telling them, you need a man, you need a man, I need a man.
Yeah.
It's just these specific situations. Amanda does not want a man, does not want one.
Yeah.
And, because she's over it. And Iris only wants one specific man.
Yeah.
And so they're very different situations. And it's not like, oh, this will solve all your problems, And I love that about this movie. And it's just a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest criticisms I saw was that it's too many movies in one. A lot of people think it's too many plots. And if this movie didn't have the Arthur Abbott plot line, I would not like it nearly as much.
No.
I love him so much.
I mean, he helps Iris grow so much.
Yes.
I think
it shows that those kinds of relationships are just as important as a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, call it 2.5 plots. I don't think that's too many.
And I think it's edited really well. It's really good editing. She got really top-notch people to work on this.
Yeah. The music.
The score is so good.
Go watch it.
Yes. The Holiday is the kind of romantic comedy that has a little bit of something for everyone. It's cheesy enough to pull in the hopeless romantics looking for a heartfelt holiday movie, but with enough nostalgia for classic Hollywood to make the average movie buff smile. Not to mention a beautiful score by Hans Zimmer that should never be overlooked. Although it didn't please critics upon its release, audiences were drawn in by the strong performances of its lead cast, especially the inclusion of lovable character actors like Eli Wallach and the always enjoyable Jack Black. Now it's one of the most talked about holiday rom-coms of all time, with many considering it to be their favorite Christmas movie. So, if you're feeling extra cynical this season, pop in this delightful film and allow your brain to take a holiday.
Hey.
Yay!
Could use one of those.
Yeah, seriously. All right. And so with that, we have another case closed. Okay, we want to thank our patrons, John, JD, Anthony, Shelley, Bob, and Jacob.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you
Always.
All
so
right.
much. Yeah.
If you would like to be a patron.
Yes. Don't forget about our Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/blackcasediaries.
Yep. You can always find us on blackcasediaries.com along with all of our social medias there.
Yay.
And we're now on YouTube. Our newest episodes will be continuing to upload on YouTube. So if you like it over there, you can hop on there.
And subscribe, maybe.
Subscribe
Why not?
there. Yeah,
right.
subscribe there. Subscribe everywhere, you know.
Yeah, anywhere we are, follow us.
Follow
Yeah.
us. Yes.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice holiday.
Bye.
See ya.
Now!
What exactly has got into you?
I don't know. But I think what I've got is something slightly resembling gumption.